Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. How we met and are looking to discuss a really interesting topic that is near and dear to our hearts. And we wanted to bring you this topic because I know that it's important for overall well-being, but also because we know that it's a topic that you struggle with. So I'm going to let my co-host introduce herself, and then we're going to get right into it.
Hi, everyone. Sensei Victoria Whitfield, and it is a pleasure to get to talk to you about self care. I'm the world's first business Reiki master. I teach meditation for C suite executives and entrepreneurs so that you're able to stay in that flowing, high performance state to take care of the issues and things, people that you care about. So.
Thank you so much for being here, Sensei Victoria. So, Sensei Victoria and I are friends. We are colleagues. She's one of my mentors. She and I have been in different trainings together over the last, oh my goodness, at least 8 years.
Oh, yeah.
And so, this is a topic that's extremely important to us personally. I, as you know, worked in the corporate world for over 25 years. And I had the fortune to be surrounded with people who supported my self care. And for a long time, I have been in this journey of how do I take care of myself while taking care of my son, taking care of my family, working really hard. And I've also had really great managers who have encouraged me to create those healthy boundaries. And we also know that there have been times in our careers and seasons of our journey that have really made us struggle with how do we carve out the time to self-care? What does it look like for us? And so we want to talk about this with you. We want to help you get some clarity around what is the biggest area that you struggle with as it relates to your self-care. And we're going to touch on what some of those are in the general sense. But feel free to, if you are watching the replay, feel free to leave us comments about what is it that you struggle with. And then Victoria and I are going to really dive into what we believe is going to support you to learn how to self care for yourself in a way that doesn't feel crunchy and that becomes part of your lifestyle ultimately. So, why don't we start diving into the what are the struggles? So, the number one struggle that we hear is time. So, Victoria, I know that you also coach high executives. And so, time is definitely a factor that prevents us from saying, I'm going to take care of myself. And maybe we should even back up. What does taking care of yourself mean?
Mm.
So, from your perspective, from the clients that you work with, how do they self care? What is it that they do to self care? And then we can talk about how come we can do it.
Yeah. So there's usually three approaches that I see with my clients, my business owners, and executives. They take three approaches. The first one is no action. So you just kind of go for whatever you can, you do whatever you can, and work till you drop, essentially. And no action essentially leads to burnout, and sending lots of love and healing to any sisters and brothers in business who have had the burnout experience, right? I've worked myself into the hospital before in the past, or I've worked with other clients of mine who, they're trying to focus while they're at work, but they have pain in their body, and it stops the project from moving forward because you put, or we're taught to put our health and our well-being last. We put the project and the actions that we're taking first. So that's the first of three things that I often see is no action. And then I've also seen reaction, number two. So like, okay, this happened, like I burnt out, or I hurt my ankle and that affected my ability to work. So because this thing happened, let me make a change, right? Or oh, I'm getting sick, right? I'm feeling very, very kind of I'm at the point where I have to see the doctor. You know, the way I was raised is like, you don't see the doctor unless you're bleeding type of an approach, as opposed to
That's
like having
proactive.
a regular practice. And so number two is reactive self-care, and it's because something bad has happened. And then the last one that I really work on for myself as well as with my clients is proactive, right? Proactive prevention, making sure that you are setting up systems so that you don't have to wait until you burn out in order to find out, hey, we're headed in the wrong direction, right? And you don't have to rely on burnout as a sign of, oh, I need self-care. When instead it's just humming in the background as your normal standard operating
That's
procedure. Those
right.
are the three things I see. I don't know. What about you, Jenny?
Yeah, so I have the whole spectrum too, where a lot of my clients though are they're mindful, right, around the fact that they are high performing and they want to do the best they can for their teams, for themselves. And so I've noticed that the self-care they do has become part of their lifestyle, such as they run, they take regular dates with their significant others. They do family time outside whenever possible. So the family is also getting outdoors, and just being in nature is a self caring activity for the whole family. And many of them do the breaks, which is something that many of us have heard, right? Like push away the desk and actually stop and have your lunch and turn off everything, because when you come back, it's going to be there. You don't have to worry that it's going anywhere. And also even take like a 10-minute walk, a 15-minute walk during the lunchtime so they can stretch their legs. And Daniel Pink, right, has taught us that every 60 minutes you're supposed to actually get up and move, and that would actually make you more productive. So that's on the positive end of the spectrum. And then, of course, there's the I don't really do anything other than I wait until my anxiety and my body is screaming for slow down the machine to actually take action. So one of the things that we do, for example, in my community, Executive Bound, is that we implement and integrate self-care as part of the lifestyle of the leaders that we coach and work with, because this isn't something to do after the fact,
I didn't
like you
get that.
mentioned.
Could you try again? Thanks, Siri.
Thank you, Siri. But actually implement it into their lifestyle so that it's part of my coaching with them. What are you doing for self-care becomes one of the categories of the topics that we discuss.
Mhm.
So thank you for that, Goddess. Let's talk about the struggles, right? Because we are busy, high performing, talented professionals ourselves, and then we work with them as well. So what are some of the struggles that people come to you in terms of what's getting in the way of their self-care? And I'm sure that the people that are going to be watching us will begin to resonate and relate to these. I know the first one is time. Like, who
Mhm.
has the time? Ginny, Victoria, I'm sorry, but I don't even have the time to watch this right now. So, how are we going to self care for our bodies, our mental health, when we are not carving out the time to do it? And let's just be honest, our plates are full, they're overflowing with responsibilities. So, what have you how have you been able to help your clients, Victoria, around time and carving out more time?
Mhm. Absolutely. So we all get the same 24 hours in a day. And what I've found, especially for myself and my clients, is that priorities are important because that's the determining factor of how we use the time that we have set aside. Right? We have 24 hours in a day, 8 of those hours are already asleep, hopefully.
Oh,
Right? 4 to 8 of those hours, hopefully, or you're already asleep, so those are gone.
yeah.
And then we have the remaining 16. Half of those are at work, right? The other half is personal. And so interestingly, studies have shown people take double the amount of time on their personal time to deal with their self-care, um, because the work life is what is the stressor, right? So you
Hmm.
don't like, and thank God for the work that you do and the work that I do, that we're helping professionals bring more of the self-care into their work life so that they're not double overtiming in their personal time trying to catch up. But I found especially it's prioritizing. And so what can happen, I'll put it on me, what I've seen is that I'll value the work more so than the thing that does the work, right? I
Yes.
When I teach my clients, I teach them about your office supply, like this body. Body, this thing right here is like your number one off.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
That's,
that the when we practice self-care, it's maintaining the thing that does the work, but we
that's right.
forget to prioritize that. I don't know
That's
if that
right.
makes sense.
That makes total sense. Absolutely. It's like if we're a golfer, right? You have to have the clubs to play golf. Well, you're the club. If you're not in good shape and if you're not prepared to adapt like you would with golf clubs to depending on how far you have to hit and how long your drive is, if you don't have the right driver and the iron and etc., the putter, you're not going to be adaptable and agile
Mhm,
to play the best golf game that you can. So if we were to equate that with ourselves, we are the vessel. We are the creativity source. And so if we're not in tip-top shape, we're not going to perform to the best of our abilities. So time is definitely a big factor that we struggle with. And I would add to what you said, Victoria, that one of the things that helps me personally with my self care is that I must schedule it. If I don't put it on my calendar, I can tell you right now, it is just not going to happen because I have so much going on, like everybody else. And my snack, I'm doing, those of you who have been following, I'm doing the 30-day challenge. And I have been following a very strict regimen of meals. So 5 meals a day, what? And so that's part of my self care, putting myself through that 30-day challenge. And I have all my meals on my calendar because I'm not used to eating 5 meals. And so self care, if it's not on your calendar, it's not going to happen. And my clients know this so well. And one of the reasons why self care is one of the categories of topics that we cover when we coach together is that together we make sure that it is in their calendars and we build that structure to support them in giving themselves those breaks that they need so they can operate and perform in to their best.
mhm. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more, especially when you see on the calendar that your time is coming, right? The
It's the
time,
best.
for example, there's like a sense of rest. I schedule literally, I have how do you say, charcoal gray blocks on my Google Calendar that say rest.
I love it.
Rest.
Yes.
Absolutely. And to your point, like also knowing that you set aside a self-care day, right?
Yes.
Stuff that your body, you don't have to crash land
And
into.
burn out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's so energizing to see
it
that
is.
there's like an actual day set aside for yourself,
Yeah.
coming up on your calendar. It in and of itself, just seeing that time set aside is already energizing, but knowing, and that way you can also communicate not only to yourself, but also to all the people around you, get them ready for, you know what? This is my time. Like I need to take care
Yes.
of myself and refill my cup. It's so
Yes.
healing
It
to have
is.
boundaries.
And listen, we're not just speaking theoretically. This is how we live. Amy just joined us, and Ranufa have joined us. I just want to mention that self-care is so important to us that this is how part of how Victoria and I met. So I go to Victoria's VIP days, which are my exclusive days of self-care, where she and I spend an entire day together. We start with a massage first, and then we do business masterminding for the rest of the day. We have our beautiful, healthy lunch. We go for a nature walk and we continue our day. This is 3 times a year that I do this with Victoria. I also host my own retreats, and Victoria has hosted her own retreats for decades where we host our clients.
Mhm.
And it it's scheduled. Like this year, we're doing three of those events, and this year, Goddess Victoria will be joining us. Sensei Victoria will be a co-host for the World Self Care Summit, which we want to tell you about in a little bit. But before we do, we want to go back into some of the struggles, and then we're going to just get right into what is some of the things that stop us from prioritizing our self care and from carving out the time for our self care. So the other struggle is family responsibilities, societal pressures, and compelling priorities, right? I think it all boils down to time. But I think ultimately, aside from the time, even if we had the time, I think there's a sense that my family must come first. And whatever my family needs, I need to prioritize that. Whatever my work needs, I need to prioritize that over my own self care. Now, that sounds very noble, and that is our intention. I know that, especially as women. However, when it comes to actually doing the self care, if we are not filled up ourselves, those people, those two categories, our work and our family, are not getting the best of us. They're getting the fumes. They're getting whatever's left over after we have given them everything that we have. So we're actually not serving them to the best of our abilities when we don't take the time to recharge, replenish, and restore.
Mhm.
And so then we can go back to them, and they get to get the spill from our cup, not the drops that are at the bottom of the cup. So that's another big one. The almost like a shame or guilt around, oh, but if I do that, that's being selfish. Or how can I take away time from my kids? How
Mm,
can I take time away from my partner? How can I take time away from work to do this self-care? It's just there is a almost like a blanket of shame and guilt around this. What have you experienced, Victoria?
mhm. Absolutely. And there's, especially in societal norms and programming, and I'm going to be feminist about this, especially for women, that there is, you must shoulder the responsibility. You must take personal responsibility for how other people feel, more so than how you feel. How other
Mhm.
people feel is your job, to maintain as the parent, as the mother, as the woman, as the feminine, half of the relationship. This this societal norm that we have, been educated into.
Conditioned.
Yeah, conditioned, oh my gosh, propagandized, however we
Yeah,
want to say that, and so that creates the internal story, and
right.
so our stories govern our feelings, and our feelings govern our behaviors. And so if we have the story of, no, I'm a people pleaser, or I must please the people around me,
Even if it's unconscious.
yes, then that will generate feelings which have the impulse behind action. And so, if with that shame feeling, for example, we're telling ourselves a shame story, and we were taught to tell ourselves a shame story. This is what I see with my clients all the time. It creates this guilty kind of sinking feeling of, well, I can't take time for myself, or, oh, that's
Mhm,
frivolous, or I'm stealing time from
mhm,
somebody else. I'm stealing time from my kid, my husband, my partner, blah 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 blah, my team, right? Let's
mhm.
bring it in there as well.
Yeah,
But believe it or not, all of the people that you think you're stealing time from have their own 24 hours in a day each day,
yeah,
and they also see how you're using yours.
yeah,
So it creates a cycle of intergenerational, or how do you say, community wide, lack of self-care. It normalizes it.
right.
Not be the change, for
And I would even add to that, which is related, that we're role modeling for our children
Mhm,
how not to self care when we don't, right? So they're watching us. They're watching us work ourselves to the ground. They're watching us not saying, mommy's going to take a couple of hours and do XYZ, or mommy's going upstairs to put a mask on her face for 20 minutes. She'll be right back, especially if they're older kids. If they don't see us prioritizing our health, our physical, mental, spiritual health, we're actually setting the example for them to also not prioritize it in their future. Of course, that is not to say that that will be the case, but that's what they're seeing at home. So if we want our kids to also grow up in a society that embraces the value of self-care, it is our responsibility as leaders of our households and also for our teams to role model what it's like to say to your team, today I'm taking a personal day because I need to recover, restore, replenish, and
Mhm.
that is healthy to do. It's really important for us to think of us ourselves as role models and have that role model mentality. I think that will lead us to do a lot of good things that are healthy and constructive in our careers and our professions, and also to do right by the people that we serve.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, why don't we go into what are some of the benefits of the self care? Because we're talking about the issues, the problems. How come people are struggling with this? Let's talk about what's on the other side of that bridge. So, if you are someone who is struggling, like we just described, let's now talk about what is on the other side for you. Like what's waiting on the other side of this journey of self care. And if you're somebody who self care already, congratulations. And you can share with us in the comments what you do to self care. I know, Amy, you do for sure. And Ranufa, I'm sure you also self care. So, what is it that you are doing today? Share it with us. And that way we can have communal learning here. So if we talk about the benefits,
Mhm.
what would you say, Victoria, are some of the key benefits that you've seen from your clients' lived experiences?
Oh my goodness. In a word, energy.
Ah, my gosh, that's a big one. Huge, huge.
And I mean, and let me tell you, when you become a certain age, energy is the one thing that you want the most and wonder, where am I going to get it from? Okay, I'm like trying to drink all this coffee,
Fake
supplement.
energy.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, and like, I'm sleeping more, but waking up tired,
Yeah.
right? And I'm bringing on more team, but it's exhausting. Why am I feeling so tired and so exhausted?
Hmm.
And what's lacking there is those structures and systems, like you were saying, of self care. And that prevailing story of, well, self care is selfish, right? I'd rather reach for an energy drink faster than actually go and get the massage, right? Or go and have like my journaling time with my candle or a beautiful nature walk, because I think that marketing of the energy drink will faster benefit me and get me the energy that I want, as opposed to shifting my behavior, shifting my world, my environment, my
Yeah,
schedule around me to foster more energy. Have
I
you
love
seen
that.
that? Or
Energy is huge. So for me, I know a lot of my clients also have seen the benefits of less anxiety. Right?
Mhm.
Just anxiety, like just the stress and the anxiety of the work. And what happens when you self care, and we have about a few minutes left, is we want to kind of just help you, right? Identify how do you feel today, in that feeling, how much of that feeling is you feel that you are stressed out, that your productivity may not be up to par, that your physical and mental health you're beginning to feel are getting impacted, perhaps even your relationships have begun to erode because you are lacking energy. You're not reaching out to people. You're maybe isolating because of the lack of self care. And as a result, you're not meeting your physical, emotional, spiritual needs. And ultimately, over time, that is the perfect formula for disaster as it relates to your health, overall health. And so, what we in the last 6 minutes want to share with you is how you can move forward from here. Because if we only talk about the problems, but we don't help you find a solution as coaches, then we're not really serving you to the best of our ability. And so, how can you move forward from here? And the first piece of advice that I would give everybody listening is self assess. How am I doing? How's my self care? On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you are crushing it, you are intentional about it, you have your processes in place for self-care, and you schedule it, and you're on your self-care journey. That's a 10. Or 1 where you just like, Jenny, I get out of bed and I'm in survival mode. I'm in burnout mode. I am absolutely not doing any of the things you guys talked about.
Mhm.
So, where are you in that spectrum, 1 to 10? Make that assessment. And based on that, if you're below 5, we need to talk.
Mhm.
If you're above 5, I would say there's always room for improvement. And as long as your body and your mental state tells you that I'm feeling great, then that's a great sign. But if you know right deep inside that there's a little voice saying you could do better, from a place of abundance, then that you really do take steps to take your self care to the next level. And that's what we wanted to bring you. Uh, Since Victoria and I are hosting the World Self Care Summit this year, it's a rebrand from what she does and what I do. I've been running the Fearless Leader Self Care Challenge, actually, the retreat for my clients since for the last 5 years.
Mhm.
And Sensei Victoria has been running retreats for the last decades because she's been running her own business for decades. So we both have this passion for exposing our clients to the value of self care to the point where we are going to actually do something we've never done before for the public, which is, you want to tell them, Victoria?
Absolutely. And this, we've made it global. And if you have not yet checked out worldselfcaresummit.com, go there. We'll also be dropping in the chat where you can get the first one for free, right? So if you
Yeah.
want to stand up, get your VIP discount code, make sure that you opt in. Ginny, I dropped it in the private chat here in the back.
Okay.
So, what we are doing for the first time is a powerful virtual self care day. If you are new to this or you are calling for more support and community around being able to take a stand for your health, your well being, not just for yourself, but also on behalf of all the other sisters and brothers in business around you who you're like, you know what? I want to be a force for healing. I believe in healing leadership. By the way, fabulous book. Oh,
Thank you.
okay, fabulous. I want to be a force for healing leadership, but I don't know where to start. We are coming together to combine forces to say, you know what? We're going to show you how it's done, how we do it in our communities. It
Yes.
is an entire day virtually set aside. So it's online. You can anywhere in the world.
Virtual, yes.
Yes, virtual. And our vision, by the way, is to have World Self-Care Summit pods and parties so that as others are coming together locally, they'll able to tune in and practice all together. But we got to come together in community for a day. Let's do it. We're going to do it 3 times this year,
All women.
all women, and we're going to come together and go through the practices of self-care and celebrate
Mhm.
one another, celebrate ourselves, and allow your companies to celebrate the incredible women who are in leadership and making transformation. Right? We want to take a stand for women leaders by setting aside a day for self-care for women leaders especially.
That's right. And I'll be reaching out to my partners and letting them know that we are actually doing this and we want to invite them as VIPs to join us. Again, as Goddess Victoria, Sister Victoria said, this is something that we want to gift you because we want you to experience it firsthand. We want you to set aside a full Friday. So our next event will be March 10th from 10 a.m. ET to 4 p.m. ET. We're going to spend those hours together with a 2-hour lunch break where you get to do some special things we're going to instruct you to do. And all you have to do literally is we're going to drop in the link. I wasn't able to publish the link, Victoria.
We'll come back in the
We'll
comments.
come back, put it in the comments.
Mhm.
And all you have to do is go there, get your code. We're going to email it to you, and you'll be able to use that code to buy the 1 day retreat 100% free. So we'll be sending this to all of our clients, of course. And we would love to have you and have you join us and experience what it's like to self-care in from your own home. I do that, by the way, I do the retreat from my bed, just so that you know. And we are part of the retreat. So
That's
this
right.
is also our self-care day. And you can see how you can start doing this more often. It's not so inaccessible as you may think. So come with us and learn how to do it from home, and you will see how you will transform, and you will take your self-care from a 1 or 2 or 3 all the way to an 8 or 9, and you don't have to break the bank to do that. So
Mhm.
thank you for joining us today. If you get to watch the replay, please leave us a comment. Let us know what you took away from our chat today. And we will continue to do this weekly, as often as we can, so that we can really raise the topic of self-care to the top of your list as a talented, high-performing female professional and leader who wants to take herself to the next level. This is how we do it. Thank you, Victoria.
My pleasure.
Bye.
Everyone, make sure that you go ahead and tag another woman who needs to see this. So if you're watching this live stream, whether you're tuned in live or you're watching the replay, go ahead and drop your sister's name. Drop all the sisters in business, the leaders who deserve a World Self-Care Day. Let's spread this word together. We'll see you.
Yay. Thank you, everyone. See you soon.